Most businesses are not motivated until they're in pain. That's why when people say, I don't know if I have the time to do this, I'm like, no, you just don't have enough pain. I got nothing to lose here. Like many, I would work from 6 in the morning. I'd get home usually at 9 o'clock at night. And then I would sit at my kitchen table and I would start producing content, just slapping the keys late at night. And to this day, my wife says that she can look back on that time where we were in such financial stress and worry and pain, and the sound of the keys were soothing to her, almost as if this thing that he's doing right now in the kitchen, maybe that's going to save us. Maybe that's going to prevent our home from being taken from us.
Gang, the AI social media fun bus has left the station. I, your humble conductor, would like to welcome you to yet another edition. We have to go deep on this, gang. The world is changing. Last I looked up, over 50% of your clients have already downloaded their own large language model. That means they're using it and they expect you to be there also. Today, we're going to catch up with a savant. We're going to be talking all things social media and how to build the content that your clients and consumers want to see, and then how to use those things to surface more prominently on AI. This gentleman made his money prior to the Great Recession selling pools of all things. Then the recession happens, he loses the entire thing and has to build himself back. Yada, yada, yada. He becomes the #1 most online traffic pool company in the world. The framework that he built still works today, and we're going to unpack it in detail. Friends, I am talking about none other than Marcus Sheridan. Unless you've been living under a rock, you've seen his stuff on all of the social media platforms. And today, he is going to tell us exactly how to stand out online in a way that you've never heard it before. Sit back and buckle up. This is Marcus Sheridan. And I am joined by the great one, Marcus Sheridan. Marcus, how are you, sir?
I am ready to have a conversation today, my friend, about how things are changing out there, Jace.
Dude, I feel like I'm having a conversation with you every day because I cannot escape you on the Instagram. I just can't get away. You're the voice in my head and the shorts. And when you say and you talk about AI and you talk about trust, you make these complex ideas simple and digestible. And I just want to, on behalf of the entire industry, say thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, thanks. I'm sure we'll get into that, but it can be boiled down, and it's not outside of our reach to understand these things. It's not beyond anybody that's listened to this, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Our audience is comprised of the greatest real estate professionals on the planet. So I promise you it is not beyond them. Marcus, before we get into winning in social media and AI, I ask all of my guests, how did you end up in the greatest industry in the world? Which, of course, is not the pool business, which you're in. It is the real estate business. But we've decided to adopt you as an honorary real estate agent, Marcus. So tell me, my friend, how did we get here today? What's your journey?
Yeah, my journey is I was working in the DC area right after I graduated college, and I didn't like it very much. My wife didn't like it, and so we decided to go back home to the northern neck of Virginia, where I grew up. Very, very rural location. And my two buddies had just started a swimming pool company and said to me, hey, we just started this company. You need a job. Would you come run the little retail location we have until, like, while we're installing pools in the field? And I said, sure, I can do that until I find what I want to do with the rest of my life, right? And I was very young, obviously, right out of college. And within about 6 months, they said, would you become the third partner? And I was like, I don't know about this, but I ended up becoming the third partner to the business and fighting to grow said business like everybody else does. That was 2001. 2008 rolls around. We're still fighting to grow the business, haven't really popped yet. And then all of a sudden the economy does what it does. Lehman Brothers crashes, and it looks like we're going to have to file bankruptcy. Now, the problem was, if I filed bankruptcy, Jason, as many folks know that are listening to this, I would have lost my home because my home was tied to my small business loans. My employees would have lost their jobs, of course, didn't want that. And so we had to figure out how to get back over that edge that we were going over. And we didn't really have any time. We didn't really have any money, which makes it tough. But what's beautiful about that is it creates this sense of YOLO, like I got nothing to lose here. I find oftentimes it's sad. Most businesses are not motivated until they're in pain. The key to great like success in business, certainly as an agent, is you don't wait until things are slow to start to doing the little things that got you where you were. And so I really started to study the buyer at that point in time, and the changing market and the digital buyer and things like social media and content. And what I really took from the things that I was learning was, okay, so if I essentially become the best teacher in the world when it comes to, in my case, fiberglass pools, that's what we sold, and I'm willing to online address every question, worry, fear, issue, concern on our website, on YouTube, I might save our business. And so I started to address things that no one had ever addressed when it came to fiberglass swimming pools.
But when you say this, it's easy for someone to think you walked into your sprawling metropolis office, you told your marketing staff you were shifting, and then you created a new plan. You sat down at the kitchen table while your wife slumbered because you couldn't sleep, my friend, because you were worried about your family.
Yeah, that's why when people say, I don't know if I have the time to do this, I'm like, no, you just don't have enough pain. Because I would work like many. I would work from basically 6 in the morning. I'd get home usually at 9 o'clock at night. And then I would sit at my kitchen table and I would start producing content that was answering a question I'd heard that day. And I started this with a little brainstorm at that very kitchen table of all the questions I'd ever received. And I wrote down like over 100 questions. And I said, I can address these. I can answer these online. So that's what I did over the next couple of years, just slapping the keys late at night. And to this day, my wife says that she can look back on that time where we were in such financial stress and worry and pain, and the sound of the keys were soothing to her, because it was almost as if this thing that he's doing right now in the kitchen, maybe that's going to save us. Maybe that's going to prevent our home from being taken from us.
Dude, I get chills when you say it, because in that moment, I know in that moment you don't feel like a warrior poet, but I, as a writer, think about you sitting there in the small hours of the morning, answering what may have seemed like benign questions. Should I get a fiberglass pool or a concrete one? And
That's
there
exactly
you
right.
are pouring your heart and soul into those words.
She didn't tell me that till years later, by the way. So it's like this, I didn't know it at the time. It was like, we didn't have a plan B, Jason. So this was like how to do it. And then within 2 years, literally, we're the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world, right? That was the time frame.
Okay, say that again. 2 years later.
We're the most trafficked swimming pool builder website in the entire world. And leads have exploded by that point. And we just have so much momentum. And then I started to see the patterns which the world knows me for today, which of course is They Ask You Answer.
But here's my point. And gang, we're going to get into a model in a second, because I want to tell you exactly how Marcus did that so that you can go and we can do this in the real estate business. But when I talk to people about your story, I get back a strange objection. People say, yeah, but that was early in this whole social media and internet thing. There probably weren't other pool companies with websites or thinking about content. But that's not the case, Marcus. They were just thinking about it a different way.
Yeah, obviously we're going to talk about this, but the content that resonates the most with buyers is the stuff that your competitors don't want to talk about online. So it doesn't matter if they've got all the tools in the world. It doesn't matter if they could hit a button and ChatGPT could create every single piece of content they could possibly want within the snap of a finger. Most are still not going to do the things you and I are going to talk about today. And that is the great divide, because there's this delta called transparency that most companies and most agents don't necessarily want to jump over. But if they did, they would then become what River became, which is the most known and trusted brand.
I love it. All right, gang, you know what time it is. We are about to unpack a model. Marcus is going to take us through exactly how we should think about the way we communicate on social media, and then how we can use our social media to help us get surfaced on AI. Now, you don't have to take the notes. If you're on the treadmill right now, or you're bombing down the freeway in the Range Rover, don't take notes. I'm taking the notes. They come out every Thursday. We email them. It comes to you as a PDF. If you don't get that email, go over to MREAnotes.com. That's MREAnotes.com. Sign up. You'll get the notes. Marcus, tell me exactly how to win in social media and AI.
So we're digging way into this. And if you're going to do this, you have to create more trust signals than anyone else in your space. Now, what is a trust signal? A trust signal is any piece of content created by you or about you online. So every review, positive or negative, is a trust signal. Every social media post is a trust signal. Every video you produce is a trust signal. Every article you produce is a trust signal. So every piece of content produced by you or about you is a trust signal, all of which get consumed ultimately by what is the customer, and in this context by AI. Search engines too, but by AI. And so you have to create enough of the right trust signals in the market so that AI says, of course, I would recommend that agent over these others. Because the future of our world, when we are looking for an agent especially, isn't going to be found by choosing which blue link to click on. That is not our future. Our future is one where a machine, a technology essentially understands us and then gives us a recommendation, gives us an answer. And the issue is when somebody's searching for the best agent in their space, in their area, they're not going to get 10 blue links. They're not going to get 15 blue links. They're going to get 2 or 3 answers. And you will have to be in there. And oh, by the way, I just got off a tour, Jason. And I spoke to 3,000 people in this tour. I asked every single one, how many of you prefer today using ChatGPT more than you prefer using Google? 50% of the audience said, I prefer ChatGPT over Google search. What do you think the number is going to be in a year, in 2 years? What does this mean for Google search? What does this mean for paid ads? It means all those things are going to become less fundamental to your success going forward. Now, going back to the model here, all right, to your point, Jason. So to create those trust signals, we have 4 pillars that we use. We call it the 4 pillars of a known and trusted brand. The 4 pillars. And if you want to become the most known and trusted agent in your market, all you have to do is follow these 4 pillars. And you'll become the most known and trusted with humans, and you'll become the most known and trusted with AI. And that's really important. That's why this model is very all-encompassing. Obviously, you can read about it in Endless Customers. But let's look at the first pillar, which is you need to be willing to say online what other agents in your space or brokers are not willing to say. Now, if I ask most people listening to this right now, are you actively talking about online, on social, on your website, on your YouTube channel, that which the majority of your competitors are not? In fact, if I showed them your content, would they say, oh yeah, we're producing that too? Or would they say, oh my goodness, there's no way we would ever do that. There's no way we would ever talk about that. So if you want to create a divide, one where people just trust you deeply, you got to be willing to say what others aren't willing to say. Now, that is rooted in 5 subjects. Can we talk about those, Jason?
Yes, sir.
So in the book, I've been talking about these 5 subjects for years now. We call them the Big 5. And they're the 5 subjects that all buyers want to research before they vet, before they buy, before they fill out a form on a website. 5 things that we want to know when we're looking to make an important decision. And this is B2B, it's B2C, it's across the board. Even job candidates are researching the same thing here. So, number 1, we want to understand everything to do with cost, price, rates, money, etc. We want to understand the financial components to it, okay? We don't want to be told this, by the way, Jason. We want to have a sense for this before we reach out to the company. Number 2, we want to understand the problems / negatives, worries, fears. How could this go wrong? How could this blow up in my face? What's the elephant in the room here that I've heard about and now I'm just really nervous about? Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, comparisons. We love comparing things online. Company versus company, brand versus brand, method versus method. I mean, it just go down the list. We love to compare. Number 4, reviews. We are obsessed with reviews as a society. But the thing about reviews is most people now go to the 3, 2, or 1 stars before they go to the 5 or 4 star reviews. The reason for this It's because, along with those fears that we talked about a second ago, we want to know, how could this go wrong? How could this blow up in my face? And when it does, what do they do about it? Right? So they run hand in hand. And then, oh, by the way, if a company doesn't have any negative reviews, it's actually scary. It deters someone from doing business, because at that point, it's almost not real. Like, that can't be true. That can't be the case. Number 5, the big 5, is best, most, top, etc. Right? These are the big 5. This is what your potential customers are researching. They're prolifically researching this in real estate.
You know, in the book that I read, Marcus, and in our pre-interview, it's easy for me to comprehend and understand this list with a product. Like when you say I was buying a used car online, I totally understand how these 5 would lay out. Where I've been struggling is understanding it in a service business like the real estate business. And so I'm hoping you can walk me through maybe some examples of how to think about these things that are tangible for me.
Sure. So I want you to choose like an ideal listener that's listening to this right now for me, Jason. I want you to tell me what their profession is. Are they an agent? Are they a broker? Whatever. Okay. Are they an agent, and where are they located? And then I'm going to give you the big 5.
These are top real estate agents in every city in the United States. And
no, I want you to choose a specific one.
Oh, great. Let's do Jason Abrams, real estate agent, Austin, Texas.
Okay.
And I want to appeal to my clients, which are buyers and sellers.
Okay. So what I have just done, I am on my laptop right now, and I've gone to a tool that is available that I have made specifically for real estate agents. And it's called Endless Real Estate Content Titles. It's a custom GPT within Chat GPT. Okay. And what it will do for you, it will give you 50 immediate titles as if I was sitting next to you, acting as your consultant, right? Which, if you hired me, that costs you a lot of money. I made this so that any agent in the world could have me giving them the titles that I have seen work over and over again that will produce the most fruit for you as an agent. So let me give you an example of some of each of the 5 for that particular agent in Austin. Is that okay with you, Jason?
This is blowing my mind. Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm going to go through these kind of fast, so everybody work with me here. All right, how much does it really cost to buy a home in Austin in 2026, we'll call it, because we're almost at 2026. The true cost of living in Austin: housing, utilities, taxes, and more. Is it cheaper to buy or rent in Austin right now? How much do you need to earn to afford a home in central Austin? Hidden costs of buying a home in Austin, most agents won't tell you. What's the average down payment for homes in South Austin? First-time buyer costs in Austin, a zip code breakdown. How property taxes in Austin compare to the rest of Texas. The cost difference between buying in Austin versus Round Rock. And finally, what does $500,000 buy you in Austin versus Cedar Park in 2025? Now, I just did costs right there, Jason. I just did costs. Now, every single one of those is a money title, and they would produce great fruit for you. Now, if I went to any agent in Austin right now and I said to them, okay, would it be possible if I was your potential customer and I asked you each one of these, could you just riff on these? You'd be like, of course I could. I'm in the game. I could easily riff on them. So a smart agent is going to pick up their phone. They're going to take a list like that 10, and they're just going to go, Jason. And they're going to talk for 5 or 10 minutes. They're not going to try to edit it. They're just going to upload it. They're just going to put it online. If you started doing that, like, imagine this. What would happen if you were producing 2 of these videos a day? By the way, this tool that I just gave you, it doesn't run out of ideas, right? Once you get through that 50, it's going to give you another 50. It's going to keep going and going and going. I mean, it's awesome. And it uses 500,000 words that I've written online about titles, subject matter, and what you could be producing. It's trained on that so that you will produce the perfect stuff. So I just gave you cost questions. So hopefully people realize, oh, it's a lot more than what does a home cost me? There's all these other questions that fall under that umbrella of just like, what am I going to spend? And we could keep going when it comes to best. Let me just really quickly share with you some of the best ones, because these ones are really powerful. 10 best neighborhoods to buy a home in Austin 2025. The best time to buy a house in Austin, month-by-month guide. Top 7 places to live near Austin for families 2025. Best coffee shops in Austin for remote workers and new residents. See, it's stuff like this, Jason, that every time I say it, you're like, huh, that's actually pretty good. Huh, that would be really helpful. Huh, I could see how somebody's searching that. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so give me where I find that again. Where do I find that tool?
Yeah. All you have to do is go to ChatGPT, folks, and then you go to that left side where it says GPTs/custom GPTs. You click on that. Then you do a search for Marcus Sheridan, and then you'll see the different GPTs that I have created. One of them is specifically for agents coming up with perfect content ideas. Put in your town, your location. If you want it to specialize in something, it'll do that too, right? So you can say, I want to focus on, let's say, waterfront questions that people have. Okay, it'll do that. I want to focus on real estate questions for families in Austin. Okay, we'll do that then. Fine. And I'm telling you, I'm not trying to, like people say AI is not creative. This tool's amazing. And if an agent gets serious about content production on social, on their website, on YouTube, this is the best content ideator for agencies you've ever seen. I'm not exaggerating.
As we're sitting here during this conversation, I had no idea that he built this. This is the first time hearing of it. I just found it on my chat, and I'm there now. Incredibly easy to use. I already got my first list, Marcus.
Yeah. So I've taken that hard part away from you, where people are like, I just want to know how to get started. And again, I want to stress this, Jason. Just get used to sitting in your car in a parking lot when the light's perfect on you. By the way, shooting videos in cars, really effective because the lighting is always good. And just answer it. You're by yourself. It's well insulated. The sound's perfect. And just record that vertical style video and get used to uploading it to Facebook, to Instagram, to TikTok, and to YouTube, and make that your norm. Maybe hire someone to upload it for you, and you just spend, maybe it's Monday morning, you say, I'm just going to go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to pop out 10 of these, and then we're going to have 2 for every day of the week, and then I won't think about it again until next week. That's so powerful, friends.
I think it's genius. By the way, gang, if you haven't heard Sean Cannell, who's had 500 million views on YouTube on our show, we did a great episode with him, and he says, use your car. It's the best studio money can buy. And he lays out a model on how to do it. So check that out. All right, Marcus, say online what other brokers aren't willing to say. Then you say the next one, sell your brand in a way that other brokers...
Yeah, show what others aren't willing to show.
Walk me through. What does that mean?
Well, that runs very consistent with say what others aren't willing to say, but it's specific to video. I want to challenge everyone that's listening to this right now to get a lot more creative with the videos that you could be producing that would make everyone in the industry say, oh my goodness, I can't believe they just showed that. Man, I've been wanting to see how that works. And they're the first person that's ever done that before. Okay. Now here's what's cool. You might be hearing this right now and you're like, well, how would I do that as an agent? Well, lucky for you, I've been thinking just about you because I have a tool that, once again, it's on ChatGPT. It's a custom GPT. And it's called Show What Others Won't. Okay? Show what others won't. So Jason, let's once again pick an avatar. I'm a broker this time. Okay, so I'm a real estate broker. I'm a real estate broker. Where am I located?
Austin, Texas.
All right, give me awesome video ideas. All right, so again, this is called Show What Others Won't. And you can just, again, do a search for Marcus Sheridan. It's going to come up. And now it's going to produce 15 very original, like no one has probably ever produced these types of videos before within your space. So let me give you an example. Once again, I'll just start with some cool, like ones that have to do with cost and numbers. All right, these are really fun. What does $700,000 really buy you in Austin? A line by line walkthrough. And so in this case, what you would do, you'd walk through a deal and show where the money went. Lender fees, inspection add-ons, repairs, furniture staging, etc. So this is like the ultimate proof here, Jason, of like, oh wow, I did not realize all those things like went into this. Okay, how many agents are you aware of, Jason, that have walked through all those things? Now, by the way, if I say anything here within this tool and it's not cohesive with a particular guideline that you have at KW, of course, like don't break the guidelines, but within the confines of what you're allowed to do, you want to push the envelope as much as possible. So here's another one. Builder upgrades that cost $40,000 but add zero value. Film a design center visit and highlight upsells that don't appraise. This is so fun. I love this stuff.
Marcus, it's so interesting. You're not thinking like a real estate agent. The tools that you've designed, but what you're telling us is that there's an endless audience to consume interesting information that allows people to feel like they're getting the inside baseball of the real estate industry.
Correct. That's exactly right. And that's how I designed this tool. Inside baseball is the perfect way to look at it. And when you're walking in the street as an agent, I want people to come up to you and say, your videos blow my mind. The stuff you're doing, it's like, I feel like everything I've learned about buying a home, I learned from you. And it's like, that's the stuff that you should be hearing, Jason, if you're doing this the right way. And when we were talking about becoming a known and trusted brand, like you could see if folks were following what I've already said today, you're going to be very, very known and trusted. And I'm giving you the information so that it happens for you fast. Because what the issue that we see, Jason, is there's a lot of content that's fluffy, that's not very helpful. And I want you to skip all that. I want you to focus on the stuff that buyers want to know, or the stuff that buyers hadn't even thought about, but they're like, oh my goodness, yes, I need that.
This makes perfect sense to me. So what's the third one?
Okay. The third one is sell in ways others aren't willing to sell. Now, there's a lot of ways that you can do this, but let me just give you a couple examples of this. One of the major stats that's out there right now, Jason, came from Gartner. 75% of all buyers today say they would prefer to have a seller-free sales experience. All right. Now, you're like, geez, I don't know. I like the sound of that, Marcus. Okay, relax. Here's what it means. What it means is we don't want to talk to a salesperson or even necessarily an agent until we're confident, we're comfortable, and we feel like we're informed enough to not make a mistake. Now, understanding the trend line, because if you talk to most people and you're like, do you want to talk to a salesperson right away or do you want to feel prepared? Everybody's going to say, I want to feel prepared. Okay, your job is to make everyone feel prepared. One of the best ways you can do that is through what I call self-service. And I write a lot about self-service and endless customers, but self-service are essentially tools that are interactive, mainly go on websites, but you can put them other places online, that either give an answer that previously could have only been gotten by talking to a human, or they allow you to take an action that previously you would have had to have done by talking with a human first. Okay, so how does this necessarily apply to the real estate space? Well, there's 5 specific tools, all right? One's called a self-assessment tool. An assessment tool is essentially like a health check. It's anything that gives you a score or a grade, if you will. A perfect example of this, Jason, I've told you about my tool, AITrustSignals.com. That gives people a grade for where they are with AI visibility and the likelihood that they're ties your website. It does a massive analysis of your website with AI agents. And it basically tells you if you're trending in the right direction or not by giving you a score, and then it breaks down each trust signal where you fall. And you can find that at AITrustSignals.com. It's an amazing tool, but the point of is that's an incredible assessment tool. It gives you a very specific score. So agents can build this too, right? So you could have what is the sellability score of your home, okay? And you could do different assessments for different markets as well that people use to help understand market conditions better. It's all types of things that you could do. So self-assessment is one. There's self-configuration tools or self-scheduling tools. I don't want to go too far into all of them, but let me give you one that's super original, that's kind of crazy, that's never been done in real estate, that I can't wait for like a market center to do, because somebody's going to do it and it's going to make waves in the industry. I'll probably get in trouble for this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. So what we have found is, because people love control so much, we've run experiments where if you show someone a group of, let's say, salespeople on a page, let's say you wanted to work with a company to come in and talk to buy a boat, okay? And you go to schedule time to set up a showroom visit. And then suddenly you see 10 salespeople, Jason. You see their images, you get to read their bio, you get to watch a video on each one, and then you get to choose who you work with. What we have found whenever this is done, and in the industry that it's done in, there's a doubling of closing rates. So I want you to imagine somebody comes to a real estate brokerage site, okay, just a real estate website. They say, I want to work with your company. Then they land on a page that shows them 10 different agents. You see their faces, you read their bios, you get to watch an introductory video, and then they choose the agent that they work with based on that.
Wow.
What we see is that, again, the psychology is, because they chose the agent to talk to, they invested the time to make that choice. They feel empowered, and the likelihood that they end up choosing that company is night and day. So for example, let's say somebody's really doing their due diligence and they're like, I'm going to talk to 3 brokerages and then I'm going to choose which one I want to work with, right? Okay, because that happens all the time. You tell me, which one do you think they're going to work with? The one where they chose their agent, or the one when an agent was given to them?
Dude, it's a no-brainer. I love what you're saying.
And it's the Uberification of everything. We want to have control. We want to choose. And when we choose, we feel more invested. Really powerful. So that's just one example of selling in a very different way than everyone else is selling.
I love that. And then you go into this idea about being more human, which I think is such an interesting way to round it out, because it's easy in today's day and age to become a mindless automaton and sucked into this digital world. What do you mean by be more human than others are willing to be?
We know that there's actually a study that says 76% of all buyers would prefer to work with an executive, with a company whose executive is active online. Okay.
Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Well, gang, I'm going to have to do a better job. Marcus, you're outing me. I don't even have a social media profile. It sounds like you're telling me I got to get with the times.
What we're saying is we want to make a human connection before we buy from a company, before we reach out to a company. What we just described, if you do all 3 of these things, by the way, Jason, that we described, these first 3 pillars, it feeds the 4th one dramatically, right? Because if you're saying, I'm going to get so serious about video that I'm going to do 10 videos a week, like we talked about, which sounds like a big deal. It's actually not at all. But if you did this, now all of a sudden, people are saying, I feel like I know you. I feel like everything I know about real estate, I learned from you. Everything about buying a home, I learned from you. Everything about selling a home, I learned from you. Whatever that thing is, all right? Everything about this market, I learned from you. Whatever it is, we want them to learn from you. So there has to be a human connection, but there's other ways to do this. Let me give you other just simple action items on this. If you, as an agent, have created an appointment with someone, you should, before that, send them a personalized video of yourself saying, hey, Jason, I just wanted to personally introduce myself before we meet on Friday at your home. Here's a little bit about me that I wanted you to know. Here's what some ideas I've already even thought about for your situation, for your home, whatever it is, right? Then when you have had the meeting, maybe a follow-up video that says, hey, Jason, loved our conversation. Here's what we talked about. Here's what you said you're going to do next. Here's what I said I was going to do next. And here's what I see for us going forward. Powerful. That person is thinking, the homeowner is like, holy cow, he's got his stuff together. Like, I want to work with this guy. 6 months down the road after you sold the house for him, instead of just saying, hey, do you have any opportunities? Sending a personalized video that says, hey, Jason, I was just thinking about you. Are you still enjoying that dream home? I sure hope you are. I loved working with you on it. That's it. That's it. It's amazing to me how little I see one-to-one video being used in the real estate world. Do you realize we've been sending email the same way for 30 years? 30 years, it hasn't changed. Text-based, subject line, plus the text, that's it. Now, some people might say, well, I don't want to watch a video. No, you don't always want to watch a video, but there are certain times when a video is very powerful. Those times I just described are examples of those occasions.
Man, Marcus, all this makes sense to me, and I want to make sure that we captured all this. So I got to be willing to say online what others aren't. I got to be able to show what I'm working on and what matters in the real estate business in a way that others aren't willing to show. I have to be able to sell in a way that others aren't willing to sell, and then I have to be more human than others can be. And I can always win when I make content around cost, the negatives, the comparisons, the reviews, and best of rankings. It's a simple model, but if I'm hearing you right, this model can give me an endless supply of content to create.
That's correct. In fact, I did want to mention one more thing. I forgot to mention it. For those that are confused about self-service tools, I created a tool for you that you can get my advice on this for free. And it is also a custom GPT, and it's called Endless Self-Service Tools by Marcus Sheridan. And so you can put in that you're an agent, you're in Austin, and you're looking for self-service tool ideas. And I'm telling you, all the ideas it gives you, you won't find any of your competitors have them.
Dude, I love it. All right, I got one more question for you. And gang, don't worry. I know I'm going to get the emails and the texts. The answer is yes. We will have him back, and we will unpack more of this, and we will get very detailed around AI. Because Marcus, this isn't a 40-minute conversation. This is probably a 3-part conversation broken into 40 minutes. But let me ask you this. You've been hanging out at Keller Williams a lot. They brought you in. They made you part of the team. You've been now immersed with real estate agents. What have you learned about the industry? And the other day you said to me, you said, man, I've learned to love real estate agents. And when you said that, it's the same thing Phil Jones said to me. If you haven't listened to his episodes, go listen. It's the same thing Rory Vaden said to me. It's the same thing that happens when you hang out at KW. Why is that? What do you love about real estate agents all of a sudden?
Yeah, there's an electricity and an energy. I'm a high energy guy, right? And, high vibrational guy. And I think that just comes with the real estate space. There's also a love of personal development, personal improvement that's very strong. I think that's quite prolific within the KW space. That's the culture that has been created by Gary and team, yourself, of course, Jason, right? So I'm naturally attracted to that. And, you got people that are just willing to take action. And that's, of course, always the great divide in every industry is you got all these people that, hear ideas every day, but then you got a small percentage that take action. Of course, that's why you do what you do, Jason, is to help people take that action. That's why I try to make it easy I build bridges so that people hear the idea, but then they feel like they're getting started already with these tools. They're like, oh, I can now do this. It's right here. I just got to finish it the rest of the way, right? That's what's possible. So yeah, I am absolutely loving this industry, loving agents. And I'm going to be very honest with this. For the 4 things that we talked about, the bar is low to stand out. You don't have to do a ton to very much stand out in your market to humans and AI. I'm serious about this, y'all. And so if you do what we discussed today, that alone is going to put you in that elite 1% of agents. You're going to be a top dog just by doing that alone.
Marcus, I love you, dude. I love the way you think. I love the passion that you have for the industry. I asked you when we first met a while ago, I said, should real estate agents be worried? Is AI coming to replace real estate agents? And you kind of leaned back and smiled a little bit. And I'll paraphrase. But you kind of said, if real estate agents get on board with where it's going and the way that the client and consumer wants to be communicated with, you think there's more opportunity ahead than there ever was behind.
Yes, because today you can build such an extraordinary brand that is known by so many more people than you ever could before, right? You had a circle before, you were limited because you did traditional forms of advertising and marketing, but today you can do things that compound so wildly that you become that, just like so attractive to the market. And I think that's a fun place to be. And you don't have to play by the rules that you've been given by everyone else. You can be a digital David in a land of Goliaths and really just be very, very different, make your own rules. I think it's an exciting time. I'd love to be an agent right now, frankly.
I love it, gang. Make sure you do play by the rules, follow all the TCPA, and needless to say, when you talk about value and you talk about prices, all commissions are negotiable. Marcus, thank you for everything you're doing to protect the real estate industry.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I told you it was going to be in a way that you've never heard it before. And was I right? I mean, did I deliver? Friends, we always deliver for the People's Podcast. That's why you love this program. But listen to what he said. When he goes out and he talks about trust signals, it makes all the sense in the world. You see, as a real estate agent, you wake up every day, and you've been doing this since 1891 when the first set of real estate agents ever met. You've been building trust signals with your database. If you ask me, friends, if you're going to put this in order, here's how it goes. I build trust with my database. Then I build trust in a geographic neighborhood. That's called geographic farming. So now I have the foundation as the people I know. Then I have the neighborhoods that know me and trust me. Then it's on to the search engines. They need to know and trust me. And then ultimately all those things help me make sure AI filters me to the top when people ask. It happens in a very specific order. And the things he talks about just make sense. I mean, if you asked me, Jason, what is the consumer actually worried about? Yeah, ultimately it's transparency. At the end of the day, they want to know exactly what's going on. I sort of think of it like this. Number one, people want to know you're authentic. They want to believe they're experiencing the real you. And that's what Marcus means when he says, let them see how human you are. Once they know you're authentic, they then want to move into competency. Let me know that you're actually capable and competent of helping me with whatever problem I have. Once they believe that, transparency rules the day. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And what is it going to cost? And then finally, it's dependability. Promises kept and expectations met. These four things come together to help people understand not only why you do what you do, but how you do it and the fact that they should trust you. You know the thing about Marcus Sheridan that you love is he wakes up and he says things that sound like common sense. But gang, in my experience, it ain't all that common. You see, Marcus doesn't think like a salesperson. He doesn't even think like a real estate agent. Somehow he crawls inside the mind of all of the people out there that he needs to do business with and asks a very simple question. What is it that they need to hear in order to trust me and then ultimately sign on the line that is dotted? Savant, genius, call him whatever you want. But friends, I'll tell you this, he's onto something. Because we know more and more people are consuming more and more content every single day. The question, is any of it going to be yours? Go forth and do likewise.